Hello and welcome to Online Appliance Tech. Today we're going to work on the newer model Samsung washer. So if you're getting an SE error code or have water in a tub like this, or if you try to drain it and it sounds like this, let me show you. And like I stated, if you have water in the tub, more than likely you have a clogged drain pump or a bad drain pump. So if this machine's been running with a clogged drain pump for a while, I recommend just replacing it. So before replacing the drain pump, first thing I gotta do is get the water out of the tub without making a mess. So what I did, I went to Home Depot just to get a bucket head and one of the shop vacs, which is pretty affordable, and obviously I'm not sponsoring Home Depot. You'll just take this tube off here, have your shop vac on, and that way you can just start sucking the water out and leave it. Let me get this off. It's actually giving me a little bit of a hard time. Here we go. And then you can just attach it to the hose here and just let it drain out the water without making a mess. So as you'll see here in the video. So while I'm draining the water here, I'm going to go ahead and make sure obviously I unplug it, and I'm going to remove these two Phillips screws from the back. You can use your drill or your hand tools. It's basically the same thing. So once we remove these two screws, you'll just press back on the top lid. It should come undone, and just put it somewhere safe. So now we're going to remove the dispenser. There's a little button here you have to press. Be careful, you might have a little extra water in there. Let's check this and see how much water is still coming out. So yeah, we got a little bit in here still, so just let that work. And meanwhile, we'll just go ahead and remove these 4 Phillips screws. This is so we can remove the display. So the next step before removing the display, you have these 3 Phillips screws that you have to remove because you have to push the dispenser back to remove the front display. So let's go ahead and remove these 3, put them in a little spot so you'll know exactly where they go when it's time to reassemble. Have a little clip here. You can just use a flathead just to kind of pry it up a little bit gently, but not too much. As you can see, it'll just pull right out. So to remove the display forward, obviously be gentle, but you have 2 little clips actually on the side, on the left and right, as you'll see here. So that's out of its way, and I'll grab I try to use my finger to pull it out. There's a little lip you have to pull out and pull the display forward. I'll show you once I get it off. Here we go. As you see that little lip, you can just take like a flathead, like a butter knife type flathead, or just pull it out. So now we're going to disconnect the display. It's not that one, it's just this one here. So this goes from the main board to the display. So now we'll just put that safe, and let's see how much water we still have in this tub. So great, that's all the water. So we'll go ahead and remove the 4 Phillips screws up underneath. You can put something underneath here to pry it up if you have to, or if you have a little tool that can get up under there like I have here. It's pretty simple, but you got to remove these 4 to remove the door. So let's go ahead and get these off. Okay, great. So now we're going to remove this spring that holds the front gasket to the front door. So be careful not to scratch the machine, but you'll just go in and pry it outwards and just come around gently and take it off. Pretty simple, actually. Now we're going to press the gasket in because we don't want to pull the door off and rip the gasket. So gently just press this in. Be careful though, because this is very sharp there, so be gentle with your fingers. Or wear gloves. Probably be smarter to wear gloves. I just can't work with gloves. Never could. But anyway, now we're going to remove the door switch. Phillips screws. And definitely put these somewhere out of the way so you'll know exactly where they go, because these are a different type of screw for this door switch. Now having the door switch off, we're going to go ahead and remove these 4 Phillips screws that holds the door to the front housing or top housing. So let's go ahead and remove these guys. and just put them somewhere separate. So to remove the door, you're going to press in these two little clips that connect to the door itself. As you press down enough, you'll kind of bend them down, and then you'll just kind of lift up on the door and it should come right off. And I forgot to disconnect the tube. So the tube at the bottom, you're actually supposed to disconnect first. Let me show you. So this little tube where you drain the water out is connected to the door. So let me just disconnect that, and then now I can pull the door right off, and I'll just put it somewhere safe where it won't slide. So here I'm going to make sure I drain all the water out and clean the filter if it has any type of debris in it. So to disengage the housing for the pump, I'm going to remove these two Phillips screws. It basically just holds the pump into place, and underneath the pump is like a rubber gasket that slides into the bottom housing, which I'll show you here in a moment. So we'll just now slide it back, and here soon I'll show you exactly what I mean. All right, actually I'll try to show you now. This is kind of a hard angle to get a camera in there. But let me see, you'll press that in, and as you can see there's a groove there. And now I'm going to go ahead and, let me see, I'm going to actually just turn this sideways, this way I can remove the 3 Phillips screws to remove the pump. First I gotta get my harnesses off, so definitely take a picture of these harnesses. If you do switch these harnesses, you could mess the pump up or it won't run right. So definitely take a picture and make sure you look at the picture before you install these harnesses once you remove them. So what I'm doing, I'm trying to turn the pump sideways to replace the pump. And if you do need this pump, I actually will leave it in the description below. I recommend the original OEM pump, no off-brand type pump. Or you can actually buy the whole assembly with the housing and so forth. So I'll try to leave that in the description below too. But you have, if you're just going to do the pump, which is the same thing, and that's usually how it's done on any Samsung model, but you have 3 Phillips screws, and just make sure you remember where they go or take a picture where they went from the get-go, and also the angle of the pump, if it's straight up or sideways or and so forth. That way it can fit in properly. So just a hand tool, counterclockwise, and you have 3 of them. Okay, great. So now we have all the 3 screws removed. We'll just pull this right off the housing. Have a towel ready just in case you have a little bit of water, but that's why we remove it from the get-go. So this is the original. This is one I will leave in the description. Usually they have a pink label, but the way you can really tell is just by checking the one that you removed to the one you just bought. They should have a QR code. If they do not have a QR code, I can't speak today, that means this is not the original. As you can see, they both have the QR code and the same type part number. So let's go ahead and wipe this inner part down, so when we install the new pump, the gasket will be seated correctly, because you don't want no leaks, definitely after putting it back together. So let's go ahead and make sure we wipe this down. So now we're going to reinstall the new pump. So we're going to make sure we install it the same way we took the old one off and make sure it's lined up correctly with the pump. On the pump you have like 3 little grooves or a couple grooves where it lines and fits in. So you want to press, pretty hard to make sure it's seated in place, I guess you would call. And you'll actually feel it press in. So what I do is I actually hold it with my hand on the top of the pump while I go ahead and put the bottom screw in. And then as I screw this down kind of snug, not super tight yet, but snugged, then I can press into the pump more before I put the next screw in. That way I know for sure it's seated correctly, because if it's not, obviously you'll have a leak. You don't want to do this job twice. So I just pressed in, and now I'm going to install the other one. So now I know. Go ahead and install this one too. Screw it in all the way. And another thing you can do too is once you get all these into place and everything's nice and snugged, you can actually put water into the tub to see if you have any leaks before you really reassemble it. That way you can make sure it's not leaking. So as you can see how much force I'm putting into these screws, because I definitely want to make sure that it's not going to leak. Actually, I got to put this last one in. So we'll put this last one in, and then we'll do a water test, which I don't put in the video, but I definitely did one. Okay, since I have everything nice and tight, I'm going to take a flashlight and get a good eye and make sure nothing looks awkward, make sure that everything's nice and flush. I'm going to tighten them up a little bit more just to make sure, because I don't want to do the job twice. Then I'll do my water test, as I said I would. So I did the water test, it passed. So now I'm going to line up the pump. As you'll see, or you've probably seen by now, that at the bottom they have a little rubber slide-in boot, I guess you'll call it. I really don't know what you call it. But you want to line up the pump. It's a little tight of the area because you have the shock behind it, but it'll work. And then you'll slide that into the bottom housing like that. There's the gasket. So as you can see, it slides in. And once you have that pressed forward, you go ahead and reinstall the 2 Phillips screws, which holds it into place. So now we're going to reconnect our harness. We'll just kind of run it through the same way it was from the original. It has a little clip here in the back, and this is basically why you take the picture. Even I think I remember I like to look at the picture just to make sure that I did put it on right, because you can always make that mistake and it's just not worth it. So yeah, I just swallowed my pride and look at the picture. I looked at the picture again to make sure it was correct. So there's a little cover here that you have to press down. So you might have to loosen up the harness a little bit to give it enough slack, because the harness itself will actually go in a down angle. Let me see if I can give you a better view of this. But I'm going to loosen up the slack, and I'm going to press it more of a down angle where the harness goes downwards, and then press this cap over, or lid over, I guess you would call it. So now we're going to reinstall the door. You have 2 clips at the bottom, and it basically sets on 2 metal clips. So you'll slide in your drain holes here, and then you'll just slide the door forward, and you'll just set it on these, put that in right, you'll just set it on the two little metal clips there. It actually just sits on top of it. It's really not even a clip, it just sits on top, and you have two little parts at the bottom that it connects to. I recommend doing this different though. I should have put the two screws in here to hold the door switch before I pushed the door back on. I didn't do that. I usually do that. I don't know why I didn't do it today, but I didn't. I pressed it on with that door switch being loose, and that can be a headache because it can fall and so forth. So I should have done that. But what you do once you push the door back, you'll just pull this gasket forward, and then you can put your hand in here. But see, I'm holding the top door as I'm putting the door switch in with one hand or trying to find it, and it just worked out. I should have just put the screws in first, but I didn't. So oh well. So now I'm holding the door on from it falling forward as I'm trying to screw that in. So that's why I would have done that first. So pull the gasket out where it lifts the front door of the machine, and then you'll just click this door in by pressing it forward. It'll click right into place. And we'll just slide this over. Now I'm going to go ahead and install these 4 Phillips screws. This way it can definitely keep the door into place. So now since I have the door into place, I'm just going to put my hand through the gasket, hold the door switch towards the front door. That way I can make sure it's not going to be pressing or strip the screw of the door switch itself. So I'm going to nice and gently screw it in as I hold the door switch towards the door, if that makes sense. And I'm going to lip this over the little groove. It has like a little lip that you lip the gasket over the groove of the door itself. Yeah, I have no words today for some reason, but hopefully this video helps you. So make sure it's all the way around, because after this we actually have to put the spring on that holds this to the door. And make sure you have that nice and sealed, and also make sure you have this tube closed off. So make sure this is pressed in all the way, because if that's not on there, you'll definitely have a nice little flood. So now we're going to reconnect the bottom screws. So you already saw this from the beginning of the video, so just go ahead and install these 4 Phillips screws real quick. So now we're going to reinstall the spring. So I have a little trick, and I've shown this in many other of my videos, so it works for me and it's the safest way. So you'll put this on the top in the groove, and you'll take like a needle nose like this and grab the little hole there. Okay, so you'll take your left hand, hold tight, and then you'll take your right hand with a flathead, press it into the groove there, and pull this around. As you can see, I point my finger at it like I'm pointing at it, and I keep pressure on it as I pull them together. So as I pull them together, it will just clip right into place basically. And that's the best way for me, it is, of course. So once we have that on, now we're going to reconnect the display. So you have these 2 little clips here that has to be pressed in on the side also. The first thing was reconnect this harness. Make sure we put it on the right way, and definitely make sure you don't drop this display panel. I actually dropped one a long time ago. It was the LG, and it broke it. I had to replace it, but that's another story. So yeah, I'm gonna look at it, make sure everything's in. Great. So now we'll just gently press it on, make sure the harness is out of the way so it clicks on it correctly. There we go. So you should never have to force it. So now we're going to slide this dispenser back into place. It should line right up, but you have the 2 clips on top, so just go by the 2 clips on top, and that should just click right in these 2 clips here. And as you hold the display, you'll slide that into place. And now we'll just reinstall these Phillips screws, these 4. And now the dispenser screws. Pretty simple. Now we'll slide the dispenser back in, press the button. Should slide right into place. Then we're top cover. Push it back and then forward. It should slide right into the display there, nice and flush. And then you might have to feel around a little bit in the back or get behind it. Even this one's giving me a little bit of a hard time. I want to make sure it's nice and flushed and clicked in. But you might have to feel for the hole for the Phillips, or just get it where you can actually see it. We'll put these back in. Okay, great. So let's plug it back in and see if it will drain the water out. So yeah, there we go. So I put water in there, and now I'm gonna turn it back on, and we just go here, drain, spin, start, and the first thing it should do is drain the water out. Let's see what we have, which obviously I know it works, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was able to save you a little bit of money. And if you have any questions, just ask in the comments below. And if you need the part, check out the description below. And if you need to go to the channel for future appliance repairs, just hit that like and subscribe button. Have a good one.